So this is what we're going to do today, to look at how the last 8 years have been for people who are survivors of the Boko Haram conflict in northern Nigeria. We're going to be looking at this as narratives of trauma, courage, and perseverance.
In March 2015, after Chibok, 500 women and children were taken from a place called Damasak in Borno State. Until date, not one of them has shown up. We don't know where they are. So, and we've gone back to our lives as normal. After Chibok, we had Dapchi, 19th of February 2018. 110 girls were taken from secondary school as well. 104 of them returned. 5 have died. 5 died while they were in the process of captivity, being taken to Boko Haram's enclave. In that period of the 1 month, 5 of them died. So we're going to hear from some of their family members, and then we still have Leah Sharibu, who still remains with Boko Haram. Again, we have gone back to our lives as usual. So I think why today is really important is that we're going to speak to members of the community. And I just want to emphasize that these communities are both Christian and Muslim communities, because people like to draw a line between religion. Everybody has been equally impacted by Boko Haram.
A mirror was shone in our face, and it didn't show us in the best light.
My name is Ruth Ngladar. I'm 22 years old. I came from Chibok local government. I live with the Boko Harams. We stay with them, and with the grace of God we survive. I spent about 8 years with them. After that, I heard that some people want to escape, and we escaped together. After we escaped, government received us, and they returned us to our parents. But they didn't render any help to us. I'm appealing if I can get help. I want government to help us and enroll our children back to school. If they can return our children to school, we too will want to go back to school.
Bekina Zanna is her sister Aisha was abducted in 2015 and she's yet to return.
I'm 17 years old. I'm from Chibok local government. My community was attacked by Boko Haram, and my sister was kidnapped by Boko Haram, and my family were devastated as a result of the adoption. We are praying and hoping that she will be back. I'm one of the Murtala Muhammad Foundation scholarships, and if possible, I need another further education.
Okay. So she says that her daughter was one of the girls who was abducted from their school in Dapchi. They were in school in Dapchi when they were taken. And when they were taken, they must have been, put all of them within this very closed environment. There must have been quite a lot of trauma. And probably, some of them, they're not really sure what happened. They may have suffocated, but 5 of the girls didn't return. They had no clue. And a month later, after the Dapchi girls were returned, they were all told that the girls had been returned. So they all ran to the vehicle. And of course, everybody else's child came out without their own daughter. And she said it was so traumatic. They kept fainting, the mothers, because they just couldn't deal with the shock. More importantly, they really don't know what happened to their daughters. They don't know whether the daughters were buried, whether they were just thrown away. So they have no clue whether they were even given any funeral rites, and it has just been very, very traumatic.
Ni abin da ya min ciwo, yaran nan da aka ɗauke su aka tafi da su, mu ba mu ga gawansu ba, kuma ba mu ji wanda ya ce ga cikakken dai wanda ya ce ga shi an yi musu ko sutura ko wani abu dai haka, ko dai ga hinan dai yaran da aka tafi da su dai, amma sun kama mana bayani akan tabbas yaran mu sun rasu.
So she says that, you know, for her, again, what is most traumatic is the fact that they never saw their children's bodies. They don't know, you know, how they died. They don't know whether they've been buried, whether, you know, whether they were given the last rites. They have no clue, and they still don't know till today. And for her, that's one of the things that is most traumatic.
Aisha Mohammed.
Okay, her daughter's name is Aisha Mohammed. Well, was Aisha Mohammed. Ni Alhaji abinda nake so ka gaya min, me kake so ka gaya gwamnati kuma da duniya? I want Alhaji to tell me what he would like to tell the government and the world about the way he feels. Me kake so ka gaya gwamnati kuma ka gaya duniya?
Ina so in gaya wa kasashen duniya. In akwai da za a mana akan tsaro za a taimake mu. Domin shine rayuwar mu. Inda tsaro za mu yi noma, yaran mu za su yi makaranta. In babu tsaro babu wannan abin duka sai wahala irin wanda muke ciki.
He says the most important thing he wants to tell the whole world is that they need security. He says without security, their children will not go to school. Without security, they cannot go to their farms. They have no livelihoods. And that's why they will continue to suffer. So that is the message that he wants to put out, that they want security. So Fatima said they were in Dambuad actually when they moved. They because of the insurgency, they fled and ended up in Boko Haram territory. They were there, but then Boko Haram took over the territory, and she was with, well, part of this narrative that I know, she was with them for a year plus, and then she managed to escape to Maiduguri. She's now with her parents, but she left her husband and her two children there. One of her sons actually was killed by Boko Haram whilst they were in captivity.
My experience in the captivities was horrible because no good food, no shelter, no water. Like, I stayed like 3 months without taking my bath. And you know, that's horrible. Sorry, I don't want to remember my past. It has been in the past, so I already forget about it. Then.
So talk to us a little bit about the diaries you kept, and what gave you the courage, and how difficult was it to keep those diaries?
Yes, I'm Margaret Yama. So I'm part of the girls that wrote that diary. And what gave us the courage to write that diary was we know that one day we are hoping that we will one day come out and many people will ask for our stories. So we don't want to forget our story. That's why we wrote that diary. I think we are like 5 or 6 that wrote that diary.
Yes, it was you, Naomi, Sarah, and who were the other 2 girls again? You, Naomi, Sarah.
Rhoda. Almost 6 or 7.
Okay. And only you and, okay, Sarah, how many of you are out now?
Yeah, we are 5, right? We are 5, I think.
That are out.
Yes.
Okay. And when you were writing the diaries, how were you able to keep them away without being caught? Were you afraid?
Yeah, sure. We are afraid and scared because if they catch us with that diary, it will be terrible for us because they don't want to see us writing something or writing stories about them. So we hide it, and we hide it in our lap sometimes when we are sleeping, or we'll get some place where they will not see it, then we'll keep it there. That's how we keep that diary and bring it back.
And when you brought the diaries, did you read them yourself?
Yeah, sure.
And when you were reading them, how did you feel?
I feel bad, and I think almost 2 years or 3, I don't want to read it. I don't want to read because I don't want to remember my past. It has been in past, so I am trying my best to forget what happened to me, to forward my life and continue my school and get what I want. You know, life there is so bad, and seriously, I'm thinking about my sisters who are still there. Bush, we are there. No shelter, no good food, no water. I feel pity. I feel like I don't know how I will express myself, but please, I want to talk to government to do something to bring back these girls. To be there is suffering. They are suffering. I want them back, more especially my cousin Rifka Tugala. I want them back. That's my prayer, and I'm hoping for their return soon.
Hassana was taken in 2014. All right, let's hear Hassana, please. Shekara bakwai da wata uku. Hassana says she was in captivity for 7 years and 3 months. Bayan kin je can, lokacin da kike a can gurin, ya zaman gurin yake, zaki iya ba mu bayani ya da me suka faru da ke? I'm asking Hassana if she can give a brief of what it was like being in captivity.
Gaskiya muna nan, amma akwai wahala wajen sosai. Ba a bar mu a waje daya ba. An ajiye mu an raba mu da waje daban-daban. Kuma ana cin zarafin mu sosai. Abincin kirki ma babu. Muna ganin sauran 'yan uwanmu ma hakan yawa yake kashe su. Wasu kuma suna mutu akan haihuwa. Saboda wahala.
Okay. Bayan kina nan so what Hassana is saying was that when they got there, they were all separated. She talks about that they all suffered extensively. They felt there was no food. They felt I would say probably humiliated a lot of the time. And then she said that many of the young women who were there died in childbirth. Bayan shekara nawa kike na aka miki aure? I'm asking how long after she got there was she supposed to marry?
Shekara ɗaya da rabi.
Okay, she says after 1.5 years she was supposed to marry. Okay. Ƴaƴanki nawa yanzu?
Guda biyu.
Okay, she came back with 2 children. Namiji da mace ko? A girl and a boy. Yanzu dawowaki lokacin da kuka baro can akwai wuya yanda har kuka dawo kun sha wuya ko yaya ne kuka samu fito?
Akwai wuya sosai, ba a kula da mu sosai.
Okay. Lokacin da zaki fito kin gaya sauran 'yan uwan naku za su?
A'a ban gaya musu ba. In an gaya musu ba za su bar mu fita.
Okay. So she said when they were, the suffering was extensive, and making their way back also was challenging. But I asked if she was able to let the others know when they were leaving, and she said no, because if they had found out, they wouldn't have been able to escape. Ruth says she feels really angry that those of her schoolmates who came out ahead of her have had the opportunity to go to school. She hasn't had the same opportunity. Da me kuma?
Kuma raba mu da iyayenmu da suka yi bayan shi, iyayenmu suka sha wahala sosai a bayan mu.
And she says she feels very angry that they were separated from their parents, because their parents really suffered whilst they were away. And some, yes. Amma yaranki da kika fito da su, idan kika gansu me kike ji?
Ina jin daɗi a cikin zuciyana. Muna tare da su, ina murna sosai.
She says she's happy that she brought out, when she sees her children, that they're together with her. She's very happy about that. Zaki so ke ma ki koma makaranta?
Ina so sosai, ina nema hanya yanzu zan samu zan koma makaranta.
She says if she gets the opportunity, she would love to go back to school. Kuma zaki sa yaranki a makaranta?
Zan sa su.
Me kike so su yi in su me kike so, me yasa kike so ki sa su a makaranta?
Su ma su fara ilimin kansu su samu abin taimakon su.
Okay. And I asked if she would like her children to go to school, and she said yes. And I said why? She said because she wants them to be educated so that they can be independent.
My name is Diana Galam. I have a daughter in the 292 in 2014, and among them, up to now, she is among the 109 that's still in the hand of the captors. And we faced many challenges this year because of how we lost them. Especially, I and my and her Sora and her sisters. Actually, we had a lot of challenges. It was her missing. Some of them can't even look at her picture or even see her clothes, because wherever they see it, they just cry. And actually, as we see the many girls that come back home, we even asked about her for the last days that come home, Ruth, Hassana, and Halima. I asked about my daughter, and actually what this lady tell me, I've heard that she's still alive. That's what gives me courage. If not, where they are and how the condition there is there in the bush, it's not something good to have as a mother. But we do not have any
grammar
bringing them. We only just manage. So we are calling the Nigerian government before the federal government, that is the president of Nigeria, for his first term, he promised to bring all this girl for us. But now he brings the half, and there's a small time for him to leave the another 10. We don't know. Whether within the remaining months she will bring it, or maybe because of politics, we don't know what he's going to do for us now. But we are calling him to fulfill his promise that he promised to bring the girls for us. And then for the remaining, for these 3 ladies that is with us here, they are like our daughters that is in the bush. We are calling the world and the other organization to assist them so that they will get something better for life, as they suffer a lot. Look at their mates that they are in AU and Yola, and see these girls up to now. Some of them 3 months, 4 months. There's nothing had been done to them. There's no any good rehabilitation, no place to stay. Like they are somewhere in the not in the Chibok town. They just run tomorrow, run today, unless we call their parents to get somewhere for them to squat in Chibok, because of these people that are surrounded their village. So please, we are calling the world and the federal government to help these small girls, so that and then they even come with 2 children. They did not go there to bring children, they just bring children. Instead of one to come, there come 3 of them. How can this girl manage their life? They did not farm. Whether get something better. So for our own babies that are in the bush, we are in need of them. Like this, that we see these girls with their children. We also want our own to bring our grandchildren for us, so that we will be very happy with them. We will rejoice with them, and then get a better life for them, as we are planning for these girls. Thank you, ma'am.
Yana, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I think it's a good roundup. I think we can, at this point, come back to the main program. Thank you so much to everyone.
I'm heartbroken, but I've been heartbroken for 8 years, and actually, in this time, I've gotten sicker. I have, I don't sleep well at all, and I have often wondered about all of us collectively. Is it acceptable that this is the best we can do for these young women, for the communities that are affected, and so many people who have had to leave those communities because of lack of security, and their lives have been upended?
First of all, I'd really like to commend all the people who spoke and shared their stories. It took a lot of courage. I think what they showed us was really their resilience, their bravery, their capacity to cope. The human capacity to deal with adversity is almost limitless. And this is what we saw. But what we perhaps might be experiencing a little bit here in these stories is vicarious trauma. So what we're experiencing is secondary trauma. And the stories were so harrowing. And I think we need to give ourselves permission to perhaps breathe a little bit.
Awa Yema, Asade Mano, Mwa Malam Ogo, Patient Zakwa, Saraya Mal Stova, Mary Dauda, Gloria Mainta, Hanatu Eshaku, Gloria Dama, Tabitha Pogo, Maifa Dama, Ruth Kolo, Esther Usman, Awa James, Antonia Yahona, Kume Mota, Aisha Ezekiel, Nguba Buba, Kwanta Simon, Kumai Aboku, Esther Marcus, Hannah Stephen, Rifkatu Amos, Rebecca Malum, Blessing Abana, Ladi Wadai, Tabitha Yelampa, Ruth Nglada, Safia Abdul, Naomi Yahona, Salome Titus, Rhoda John, Rebecca Kabu, Christy Yahi, Rebecca Luca, Laraba John, Saratu Marcus, Mary Usman, Deborah Yahona, Naomi Zakaria, Hanatu Musa, Hawa Tela, Juliana Yakubu, Susanna Yakubu, Saraya Paul, Jumai Paul, Mary Sule, Jumai John, Yanke Shitima, Muli Willigam.
The girls scurry around in deep fear and intimidation to grab the closest keg. They form a single file of 12 of them lined up, heading to the stream to fetch drinking water. She bends down, grabs the keg, and places it on her head. She held on to the keg with her left hand while holding on to the cross on her right hand. She held on to the keg on her left hand while holding on to the cross. The cross her mother had placed on her neck as a child. That was the hope she had. My mom is stern but funny. This time I'm drawing on the well of your warm teachings and my inner strength to keep on with my unyielding love and the love you've taught me. Far away from home with no timetable to return, but your love, Mom, keeps me standing tall, even though I'm scared and bent out of shape. Your tenderness, your laughter, your wordless reprimand and approval through facial expressions. Many times I wonder if, never mind. Your voice echoes in my ears and sends the very words of God through my body like a jolt of electricity as you gently quote the immortal living words.
Thank you very much, Sheyi. So now we are going to hear from, is it me? Okay, so what I'll do, somebody whose opinion I respect said I should read just the introduction of my paper. So I'm going to run through it quickly. The paper, as you saw, is titled Fleeing Boko Haram, the Trauma of Captivity and Challenge of Freedom. Captivity and freedom are seen as opposites. To be captive is to be imprisoned, detained, confined. To be free is to have liberty, autonomy, and free will. It seems logical to associate captivity with trauma and freedom with an end to trauma. However, enduring elements of trauma challenge the notion of freedom, especially when considering possible psychological effects of long-term captivity. The assumption also that the end of captivity and experience of freedom constitutes a peaceful, joyful, and self-determining existence may be very problematic, as may be the social implications of freedom and the impact of responses by others to a person once in captivity and now free. I look at the road being traveled from captivity to freedom by the victims of Boko Haram, including the young female students, some of whom we have heard from today, as similar to walking a tightrope. It's a tense and difficult, unstable process. We might not, as people undergoing trauma or who have undergone trauma, get to freedom, but we may have to be walking a tightrope. And that requires unbelievable and extraordinary drawing on your inner strength, as well as the social circumstances around you and structural provision of resources that enable you to thrive. So I'm so happy to see all of our girls and the women who are now free. But I think we all have a responsibility. As a country, what exactly are we doing to heal the individuals, to give them the resources that enable them to live their lives in dignity, to also take care of the communities, because trauma is not individual in this case. It has been suffered by the whole community. What kind of peace building are we doing? So when I talk about this, I'm just reading the introduction. I think the people who go through trauma need training. Experience also helps, and the experience that is necessary needs not to be experience of abduction if you are trying to help people or the horrors thereby, but experience on strategies on how to deal with trauma. So people like Dr. Akilu are essential. Those strategies have to be culturally appropriate and they have to be long-term, because you can't put people on a timetable and say, okay, you've had 1 week and now you can go back to your life. It doesn't work that way. And I also think that in Nigeria, we have allowed these really brutal predators to have free reign in a way that doesn't show that there's a government. So as a political scientist, the essence of government is that nobody can come and use violence in the territory over which you say you are government on your citizens and inhabitants. It is only the government itself that can use violence, when it's trying to arrest criminals and punish offenders. But we have allowed these people to be like government. So I'm not going to speak much. I just say, read my paper. When we assume that trauma has ended because people are free, let's be frank, we're wrong. We have to keep supporting people. We have to give counseling. We have to give psychological or psychosocial assistance. The helpful family and community are helpful, but that's insufficient. Government has a role to play. People of good conscience have a role to play. So the advocacy that people receive the services they need and that those services are essential to transforming their lives is key. So all the good people who see we're all heartbroken, my question to you today is, what are you going to do? Especially to force our government to attend to this crisis, and the girls that are, and women, and our people, boys and men who have been abducted, they have to be liberated, because what is happening to them should be touching us as if it is happening for me. I think of, if my child is taken, what would I be feeling? What would I be doing? And that's why I entered this struggle. And that's why I'm still going on. Thank Thank you very much.
I think I'd like to leave us with a message of hope when we talk about trauma, because very often when trauma is that emotional injury that's invisible, that can destroy lives and steal our futures that we can't see. But I think in Nigeria, with what has happened at Dapchi, Chibok and the other communities, it has given us really an opportunity to look at how do we deal with trauma as a society, as a country. You know, when something happens, this now becomes an opportunity to generationally correct. What are the gaps? We have gaps in the numbers of practitioners. So this is an opportunity now to offer more mental health training in our universities, in our colleges of education. So that's one area, and I've seen that gradually increasing. I also think that it's an opportunity to elevate mental health now to the same level as physical health, both in terms of resources and importance. In this country, we need to integrate mental health into primary healthcare services so that people in Chibok would have access to a mental health practitioner. People in Dapchi could have access to a mental health practitioner. On an individual level, I think that we must be able to be better at practicing self-care, at leaning on communities, leaning on friends, leaning on relatives when we're feeling traumatized. As Nigeria evolves, I also see the place of mental health evolving. I see much more provision of mental health care for people who have been captured by terrorists, and also for people whose communities have been destroyed by terrorists. What we need to do is elevate the quality of the mental health provision. So what do you do if you're in a society where you don't have the numbers of practitioners? In Nigeria, we have probably less than 300 psychiatrists to every probably 50 or so million. So what do we do to redress the barriers? How do we train lay counselors to be able to provide really good quality mental health? And these are things that we as a country are going to continue to work on. And how do we provide even mental support in our schools so that everywhere that people are, they can get access to a trauma counselor. But I'd like us all to leave this meeting today not thinking about the weight of trauma on our shoulders and in our chest, but to really think about it as a story of resilience, a story of hope, a story of overcoming. And this is what these stories that we've heard have shared. So I hope that we are able to, as a country, break the bonds of generational trauma so that we don't go into a second generation. But at the same time, that we're all able to learn from these stories to make us stronger and make us more resilient as a society. So thank you very much.
Say one of the things that we have all concluded, and I'm sure everybody is aware, is that actually education is still going to be the key to empowerment. And I think not doing anything about education allows Boko Haram to also win. So the two people that are going to speak, Mohammed is a resident of Chibok. When we met him many years ago, he did indicate probably a bit uncertainly that he wanted to go to school. Mohammed did get a scholarship. He went to University of Lagos. He's completed. He's now a graduate of social work. And then we've got Rebecca. Rebecca's sister was kidnapped, and one of the things that we tried to do was to ensure that siblings would go back to school, because we didn't want a situation where the siblings had been adopted, especially the older ones, and the younger ones were afraid to go to school. So Rebecca is Rifkatu Galang's younger sister, and she's also just graduated. She's a graduate of education. So I just wanted both of them to give the vote of thanks.
Mohammed.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. On behalf of Murtala Mohammed Foundation, I want to especially appreciate everyone for creating time to join the program. My name is Mohammed Maina. I am from Chibok, and I want to thank Almighty Allah for this day while I share my little story. I was severely affected by the insurgency in the year 2014. I lost all that I had, no hope of going to school after completing my secondary school. With the help of Murtala Mohammed Foundation, when I met Madam Aisha, and my head was full of, I want to do business, blah, blah, blah. And she insists I have to do something better for my life. I was able to gain admission to University of Lagos to study social work, and I graduated last year, currently serving as a program officer with the foundation. I want to say a very big thank you. After getting a scholarship, I graduated, I got employed with the foundation. So I want to let the world know that with proper support from the government and more organization, life will be worth living again, and people's life will be better. So thank you all. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I can't thank you enough. Especially Murtala Mohammed Foundation. Thank you, ma'am. God bless you all.
Mohammed, I thought it would also be nice to thank the participants. Is Rebecca going to be speaking?
Yes, ma'am. I want to thank everyone for coming. And I'm very keen. I want to meet the psychologist because she spoke very well, and there are areas I'm very interested in, especially counseling, though I have a little background of counseling and other things in psychology. And I would like to meet her if there is any way she can assist, because so many people need counseling down here. Thank you.
So, Aisha, I think you should have the final word.
Oh, okay. So I really would like to thank everybody who has taken the time to be here. It's been a fantastic afternoon. You have been a fantastic audience. We've seen all of the comments that you put in the chat box. I'd like to thank all of our, I'll call them family now, from Chibok, from Dapchi, from Maiduguri, who were able to share their narratives and share them very openly and honestly with us. I would like to thank, the Tokwe and his and also the team, the communications team, both from Professor Okome and the foundation, the Murtala Mohammed Foundation, for working with us on all of the communications, despite all of the hitches. And actually, it was very interesting. I saw a comment that someone put there, which said something to the effect that despite all of the technical hitches, it doesn't take away from the narrative. So thank you so much, everybody, for your patience. But last and not least, I would like to thank, our participants. And I'm sorry, I'm talking about our keynote. Well, they're not panelists really, or I'm looking for the right word to use, but all of those who, played a key part in making this. I want to thank Sheyi. You've always inspired us with your music. I want to thank Angela for all the great stuff that you've done. Professor Okome, you've been an amazing partner in all of this, and then Dr. Fati. Oh, Fati, the Amazon was Fati. The first time I went to Maiduguri, Fati just literally dragged me there. I was in the middle of the insurgency. She's like, we're going. And like, are we? And that was how we went. Throughout the time I was doing my research, I went with Fati and she never showed any fear at all. Even when Maiduguri was attacked the night before we were leaving, the last time we were there. So thank you so much, everyone. I know I can't mention everybody by name. I want to thank again the participants. I can see all of the names, friends, colleagues, relations. Thank you all so much for making this a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful program. I thank you.
Thank you.